Hey guys, Garrett here. Today we're going to be looking at the differences between the Leica MP and the Leica MA. Before we get into it, if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and also please like the video. It really helps out. All right, so let's get started. So first up we have the Leica MP. And of course, the main difference between the Leica MP and the Leica MA is going to be the meter. So on this one, it has a meter internally. You can look through the viewfinder, you can meter your shot, and then take photos. With the MA, there is no meter on the inside, so when you look through, you're just getting the frame lines. You're gonna have to use either a handheld meter or, Sunny 16 rule. So that's probably the first main obvious difference. The second thing that I noticed right away is the battery cover here. Personally, I don't really like the way it feels. Again, this is a really small detail, but if you're spending this much money on a camera, I think it's something to consider. And that's, the battery cover right here. It does definitely kind of, I guess, interfere, or I don't prefer it. I much prefer the smooth feeling here of the leather. So that's another thing to consider. Next up would probably be the frame line. So this is gonna really impact, well, maybe not really impact, but somewhat impact the photo taking. So if you look through this camera, you'll see on the bottom frame line, there's actually a chunk that's missing, and that's for your LEDs, for your meter, for the little triangles and the circles. So along the bottom, you're not gonna have as accurate of framing. Again, it's not a huge deal. This is only gonna affect the 28 and the 35 frame lines, but it does make a difference. On the MA, you have that full frame line going all the way across the bottom. So I'd say in general, the MA is gonna have, it's gonna be slightly better for framing, and I prefer the viewfinder on the MA. Okay, next, here's something that I've never seen anyone talk about, and that's the shutter curtain. So the shutter curtain on the inside of the MP, the first curtain is gonna have a white dot in it. Let's see if you can see it in there. And then when you press the shutter, it's gonna change to that second curtain, which is just a black curtain. So if you look inside, you'll actually see the color change. Here, let me show you again. Yeah, so it will kind of go from like a white or a gray to a black. If you are at a large aperture, you'll be able to see through it. So keep in mind that people will be able to see this. If you're photographing people and they're looking down the lens, or they happen to look in the lens, and you take a picture, even if it's loud and they can't hear the shutter, they will be able to see that change from that white dot to that black. On the MA, there is only black shutter curtains, so when you take a photo, you won't be able to see the difference at all. So I'd say this is slightly more stealthy. It's a very minor difference, but it is, it is a difference that I have noticed between the two cameras. Okay, next is the shutter sound. So this could just be the different samples that I have, but I find that the MP has a slightly louder, slightly more high-pitched shutter sound, and the MA is slightly more dampened and slightly lower or like bassy shutter sound. I'll let you listen for yourself. So that's the MP first and the MA second. I'll do it one more time. So to me, the MA is a little bit quieter, a little bit of a lower sound. I prefer the sound of the MA. Okay. Here is probably the biggest thing that I noticed I haven't seen anybody else talk about, and that's actually the shutter release itself. So on the MP, what you have to do to meter is you're gonna press down the shutter halfway, and you're gonna hit a wall, and you'll see the LEDs pop up. And then once you continue to press, you'll release the shutter. So it's very light press to the wall, and then you kind of have to press a little bit hard compared to the MA, and then it will fire the shutter. I would say this, because of the additional force you have to use, you're more likely to kind of shake the camera or twitch. If you're shooting, at a high shutter speed, it's not going to be a problem. For me, it's not really an issue. I usually walk around with it, and as soon as I'm ready to take a shot, I'll half press and then take the shot. But on the MA, it has a much nicer shutter feeling. So you just press, and then it releases about halfway down. You don't have to press as far as the MA. And again, there's no hard wall, there's no stop. You're just pressing, and then a nice crisp break. So I'd say the shutter on this is a little bit better for shooting in low light. It feels a little more premium. It just feels great that it just slides down with the same amount of pressure the whole time and then just breaks very nicely. Whereas the MP is a little bit, I don't know, it just doesn't have as nice of a feeling because there's that hard wall and then you kind of have to push through it and then push harder to get the shutter release. So that's pretty much the main differences. Of course, the MP is going to be a little bit lighter. It's 585 grams versus 578 grams for the MA. It's a very marginal difference, but if weight is important to you, that's something to consider. Overall, I'd say they're both great cameras. If you have a chance to own either of them, I wouldn't worry about it. You're gonna love both of them. So if you can pick one up, pick up either of them. It's not gonna matter. But you know, if you're watching this video, you're probably interested to find out the differences, and maybe you're considering going with the MP or the MA. If you have any thoughts, please leave a comment down below. Any questions, I'd love to hear from you guys. Again, if you haven't, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.